When I came to America about 12 years ago, I fell deeply in love with okra. I, it was like an unexpected, beautiful, tummy-fluttering type of love, and totally bowled me over. And just, I'm really here today to share that love story with you, and hope that you can also fall in love with okra. I do want to say that I'm British, which means I didn't grow up with okra. And okra actually came to the Americas via the slave trade with millions of enslaved Africans. And so I don't have a cultural or historical connection to okra, but this is a love story, so it doesn't have to be logical. My mom, was a big home-time gardener, so when I came to America and started my own home garden, I was really excited about all the things I could grow that I couldn't grow in gloomy England. Things like peanuts and sweet potatoes, tomatoes without a greenhouse, all these exciting crops that I was really excited to get into. Okra was one of these crops that neither of us had heard of before. And I was very excited about that first garden, but quickly ran into another thing you have in America, all these pests and diseases. You have like ninja groundhogs, flying deer, you have like just very hungry rabbits. And by the end of that first season, I was basically just sobbing in the corner of my decimated garden. The only thing that was redeeming in that garden was the okra. It grew like 14 feet tall, was absolutely beautiful, produced so much food, and I was just so enamored with it as a crop and a food. And I naively shared my love with the world and got a lot of pushback. Folks just didn't seem to understand okra. Okra is the closest thing to nylon I have ever tasted. It's like they bred cotton with a green bean. Okra tastes like snot. The more you cook it, the more it turns into string. And this isn't just Robin Williams. This was like everybody I spoke to. And it's not just foodies, it's gardeners too. You wouldn't believe that gardeners are actually complaining that okra is too productive. I've got like bean beetles decimating my pole beans. I've got vine borers taking out the summer squash. Okra just keeps giving, and people are complaining about it. And so this whole kind of like okra weirdness was playing out, and I started giving a presentation called In Defense of Okra. I felt like if I love something, I should stand up for it. And I realized very quickly that I couldn't just stand up for an hour and a half and say, I love okra, so should you. People needed more information than that. They needed to know why. And this began this real deep research, like a rabbit hole, Alice in the Wonderland type adventure into okra, which led to me writing a book on okra. It won a James Beard Award. And I was just in this deep world of crazy okraness that I deeply loved myself. And so really what I'm going to do with you is share the whole okra. So you take a seed, you put it in the ground, it grows these roots. These roots are amazing. They're drought tolerant and very expansive. If you look at my spread, these are okra roots in the lateral direction, and the height of it is the tap roots all the way down. Once that plant grows from the roots, we get the leaves forming. The leaves can be eaten from the young cotyledon stage all the way through to the mature leaves. You can eat them raw, but they start getting a little bit rough when they get bigger, so I like to cook them into a stew with like coconut cream and turmeric and ginger, a little bit of fish on top. Very deeply nutritious food. The leaf, which is big, joins to the stem via the petiole. The petiole for okra happens to be hollow and fibrous, and you can, after eating the leaves, take that petiole and cut it into sections and dehydrate it for basically a homegrown compostable straw that you can take to events and pull out at parties and impress people. Then you've got the flower structure. The flowers are beautiful but also edible. You can eat them raw, but I like drying them down for winter teas. I did infuse them into a vinegar, which made this beautiful red-colored vinegar. Generally, if you're like me, once you've infused it into vinegar, you're like, I wonder what would happen if I infuse it into vodka. You get this beautiful red-colored liquid, and as soon as you create that, it's just inevitable that you're going to make an okra flower vodka Bloody Mary and drink it with an okra petiole straw while garnishing it with an okra flower vinegar pickled okra. I'm not going to talk a lot about the pods because there's just so much to say about it, but this is my favorite okra preparation, okra kimchi. It's raw okra rolled in coarse sea salt, mixed with a chi paste. It's crunchy, delicious, sour, good for you, and just really my favorite way to think about okra. Again, there's so many things you can do with the pods. This might surprise you. In the cosmetics industry, that okra is deeply rehydrating. These are a couple of my loved ones outside of Okra with blended okra pods. It's an experimental okra spa day. And I took this from a Zimbabwean tradition, so I didn't make this up myself. After the pods, you get the seeds that mature inside the pods. The seeds can be ground into a flour. The flour is very nutritious, made into a sourdough here, a roasted okra seed pancake, and it can be pressed for an oil. I truly believe the seeds have like a vast amount of potential in terms of a secondary crop. And then after the seeds have been harvested, you have the stalks left in the field. The stalks have a very strong bast fiber. The bast fiber can be woven into all sorts of different products, but here you see it put through a spinning wheel by a friend of mine, so it could become textiles and then clothing. Anything you do with hemp, you can do with that. So really, to kind of start wrapping this up, I know that you're all going to fall in love with okra too, and I'm not jealous. So there's so much to go at here. You see 60 varieties. I've grown over 200 varieties. There's over 1,000 varieties out there. So we can all share the okra love. And I'm just going to leave you with a final quote. In reality, okra could have a future that will make people puzzle over why earlier generations failed to seize the opportunity before their eyes. In the botanical kingdom, it may actually be a Cinderella, though still living on the hearth of neglect amid the ashes of scorn.